All right, so many of you have written to me and said, David, you've got to talk about paying off debt either with the snowball method or the avalanche method. Now, people like Dave Ramsey and others like to talk about this stuff. I think there is value to talking about this, but I also think that these techniques have limits and they sort of ignore both a psychology and a kind of realism component. So we all are starting from the starting point that high interest debt is not something you want to be carrying. There is low interest debt, mortgages when they were lower interest, and I'm sort of exaggerating, but it's at least debt on assets that appreciate or at least hold value are sort of a different category. But getting out of high interest debt is really important for a lot of people. It costs a lot more money than people realize. It limits what you can invest. And there's the crushing psychological component of this high interest debt, which is why when you finish up saving that $1,000 emergency fund I've talked about, paying off super high interest debt is a really important thing. Depending on how much debt you have and depending what the interest rates on those debts are, there are different approaches to doing this. So we're leaving mortgages out because we consider those low interest debt, where borrowing to have a home can make sense. I'm not doing the thing where I go, you got to buy houses cash or always get the biggest mortgage you can. That's not part of this video. We're just not including mortgages in this discussion. So there's two major methods that are often suggested: the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. Okay. The debt snowball method is where you make a list of all the debts that you have, including the amounts, and you go by balances. Okay. So you might say, well, I have a $20,000 credit card debt at 15%, and then I have a $12,000 car loan at 7%, and then I have a $2,500 payday loan at what is effectively 80% annually, etc. Okay, you figure that out. And the snowball method would tell you to first pay the smallest debt. In this case, it would be, actually, let's add one more. Let's say you have a $2,000, we'll call it a personal loan at 6% interest, okay? Under the snowball method, you would pay the smallest balance first. So that would mean first we're doing the personal loan because it's only $2,000. Then you would do the payday loan. Then you do the car, and then you do the credit card. The reason is that psychologically, it would be great to have only 3 debts instead of 4. And it's encouraging and it's useful and helpful and all that sort of thing. Okay. You get these victories because if you can only contribute $200 a month, it's going to take you a lot less time to pay off the personal loan for $2,000 than the $20,000 credit card loan. Okay. The debt avalanche method is completely different. Here you go by interest rate. And you want to tackle the highest interest rate first. The idea being, interest is a cost on money. I want to go first for the 80% payday loan. I would go number 1 there. Then I would secondly work on the credit card. Yeah, I'm going to have these for a longer period of time because I've got 20 grand on the credit card, but it's at 15%. Then you would go on the car loan third. And then fourth, you would go on the personal loan because it has the lowest interest rate. Now, the advantage here is you're actually saving the most money. You're saving the most money because you are avoiding the highest interest rate first. The downside that some financial gurus mention is your progress will be less obvious because you'll continue to have 4 debts for a while with this method. Now, there is a third option. The third option is debt consolidation. Debt consolidation. The idea of debt consolidation is you take all these together. This is 32 and 4 is 36,500. This is $36,500 total in debt. You would be able to consolidate this potentially at 1 interest rate. And a debt consolidator might come in and say, okay, we'll pay off all of these and you'll just have 1 loan at, 9%. And you would have to figure out what's the weighted interest rate here, because I've got 20 grand at 15%, 12 grand at 7%. The math of that is a subject for a different video. But you would be able to just have one debt, which psychologically can also be useful. Choosing which of these methods is right for you can depend on your particular situation. My preference is to figure out the way to pay the least amount of interest. So I am partial, unless there are really specific reasons to do it a different way, to going with the Avalanche method. Let me know your thoughts.